Well, it's a very great honor to be in this town, which I realise is the place where the successful Slovak uprising against Nazi occupation began.
Je mi veľkou cťou byť v tomto meste, kde začalo vlastne Slovenské národné povstanie.
Every educated person these days is in some sense, I think, a Darwinian. We all understand that we humans evolved from some pre-human ancestor.
Pevne verím, že každý inteligentný, rozumný človek v dnešnej dobe je istým spôsobom darwinista, čiže rozumie tomu, že ľudia sa vyvíjali počas rokov.
So I'm a Darwinian, but I recognize that as scientists, Darwinian evolutionary scientists, we face a massive theoretical problem.
Takže nie som úplný darwinista, ale napriek tomu vidím, že nastal v našich časoch taký veľký problém teórie vývoja ľudstva.
None of us have any agreed theory as to how on earth language could have evolved.
Nikto z nás totiž to nie je si úplne istý, nemá jednu konkrétnu teóriu o tom, ako asi jazyk vznikol.
I'm an anthropologist, and anthropology is the study of what it means to be human. And we humans not only learn language, but we seem to have, as children, an instinct to acquire the grammar of a language.
Takže ja som antropológ a ako antropológ sa zaoberám tým, ako sa asi jazyk vyvíja a môžeme pozorovať v ľudskom živote, že jazyk sa vyvíja už od úplného dieťaťa, už začína vlastne od úplných začiatkov.
And this was one of the great contributions of Noam Chomsky. Before he came along, the consensus really was that language is learned in the same way that a rat in a maze learns how to escape from the trap. Language is just learned in the way that any other animal learns, some form of behavior.
Jeden z najväčších lingvistov našej doby, Noam Chomsky, si myslí, že ľudia sa učia jazyk podobne, ako dokážeme naučiť napríklad potkany alebo myši uniknúť z nejakého labyrintu alebo že riešiť nejaké také veľmi jednoduché úlohy.
But what Chomsky argued successfully was that every child at the age of maybe 2 or 3, it has an extraordinary instinct to acquire what actually is an extraordinarily complex theoretical structure. The grammar of a language is an immense theoretical structure which even today no one has successfully succeeded in documenting. Not one language really do we know in full how the grammar works. And yet a child seems to pick it up without any effort, and more comes out from the child. More comes out from the child than goes in.
Takže Noam Chomsky hovorí, že vlastne tento tzv. Jazykový inštinkt akoby sa vyvíja v dieťati už od jeho malička, ale zároveň nikto si nie je úplne istý tým, ako sa ten jazykový inštinkt do človeka akoby dostal. Nikto si nie je istý tým, kedy vznikol, alebo kedy sa u človeka úplne vyvinul.
So all of us are familiar with this, aren't we? All of us who've had children or been with children, we just know when a child speaks, it will say something so creative, so original. We say, where did he get that idea? Where did he get that sentence from? The child is creatively using language and inventing expressions which clearly, we never taught the child.
Môžeme vidieť, že deti pri komunikácii a pri učení sa jazyka používajú najmä kreativitu a práve tá je veľmi podstatná pri učení jazyka aj pri osvojovaní si jazyka.
So it's in that sense that human children have an instinct for language, but chimpanzees, and we're related closely to chimpanzees, seem to have none of that instinct, none at all.
Môžeme teda vidieť, že ľudia a deti majú tento inštinkt akoby vrodený, ale napriek tomu u iných ľudopov alebo u iných našich akože blízkych príbuzných tento inštinkt vôbec nenachádzame. Napríklad u šimpanzov.
Of course we humans have many instincts. We have the sexual instinct. Well, we know where that came from. Chimpanzees have sex and have sexual instincts. We have a maternal instinct. Well, it's clear where that comes from. Other apes, monkeys have maternal instincts. We have aggression. Okay, we can see where all these instincts came from. Aggression, sex, maternity. But language, if it's an instinct, where did that come from?
Pri všetkých inštinktoch môžeme vidieť, že ich máme spoločné so zvieratami. Či už je to inštinkt agresivity, alebo materinský inštinkt, alebo sexuálny inštinkt takisto. Ale pri tomto jazykovom inštinkte si vôbec nie sme istí.
So Noam Chomsky has a theory, and his theory is that he's just kind of guessing, but it's his favorite theory. He says maybe a kind of ape walking on two legs was wandering around when suddenly a cosmic ray shower hit its brain and caused a mutation, and this mutation suddenly produced a language instinct.
Noam Chomsky teda pripisuje tento jazykový inštinkt akémusi vesmírnemu ráciu, ktoré len tak z nenazdajky niekedy proste prišlo do ľudského mozgu, do mozgu Homo sapiens a vytvorilo to, že začal sa v ľudskom mozgu vlastne vyvíjať tento inštinkt.
And when I heard about that theory, I thought, possibly not a very good theory.
Osobne si o tom myslím, že to nie je veľmi dobrá teória.
Now, of course, Chomsky is right that language is kind of off the chart. It's nothing like anything which other animals do. So other animal signals don't look as if they're a very good point of departure for the evolution of language. So language is so different that it seems like off the scale, and it's different in principle, and so evolution can't be a theory. That's what Chomsky says.
Chomsky teda hovorí, že jazyk je niečo úplne odlišné od ostatných inštinktov a teda nemôže byť pripisovaný evolúcii.
And he's right there that, for example, language is digital. So the human mouth and teeth and tongue and soft palate, it functions like a keyboard. We switch off and on different, what we call distinctive features. We switch off and on voicing, we switch off and on nasalization, we close the lips and open the lips, and it's all very much like a keyboard in the sense that it's digital.
Jazyk je v istom zmysle slova akoby digitálny, pretože naše jazykové ústrojenstvo, čiže ústna dutina, nosná dutina, všetko to funguje ako taká klávesnica na počítači, ktorú len zapíname a vypíname stále dookola, keď ju potrebujeme využiť.
When chimpanzees make vocalizations, they don't open and shut the mouth, and they don't use the tongue at all.
Šimpanzi napríklad pri vyjadrovaní svojich pocitov vôbec nepoužívajú to, čo my teda nepoužívajú všetky tie ústrojenstva jazykové, ako sú jazyk, zuby alebo hrtan. A používajú úplne iné.
And technically we describe each signal as analog or graded. The sounds are always more or less, and the number of variations is infinite, as opposed to just digital choices.
Takže šimpanzi používajú vlastne hlavne samotný zvuk, ktorý len akoby stišujú a zvyšujú, a podľa toho vieme odhadnúť, že aké sú práve akoby nálady.
I could possibly, with a little bit of risk, if you don't mind, give you not a very good imitation, but maybe an attempt at a chimpanzee sound called a pant flute.
Takže posnažím sa vám teraz ukázať, ako asi znie šimpanz.
And it's something like...
názor na ukážku.
And Chomsky is right. If you were God or some, creative spirit, and you wanted to evolve language, like with grammar, that sound would not be a very good point of departure. It wouldn't be a place to begin.
Chomsky má určite v tomto pravdu, že ak by teda niekto sa podujal na vytvorenie jazyka, nejaká vyššia sila alebo nejaký boh, tak určite by si nevybral asi takéto zvuky, aby sme sa nimi dorozumeli.
So Chomsky just says, forget chimpanzees, irrelevant, and forget all animal communication, irrelevant. Language is something new in principle and requires some kind of miracle to explain.
Chomsky teda tvrdí, že máme zabudnúť na všetky šimpanzi, na všetky ostatné inštinkty a koncentrovať sa jedine na jazyk, ktorý je principiálne úplne jedinečný a odlišný od všetkých týchto vrodených inštinktov.
And then linked to that, to the digital format, there's another major difference, which is what we call displaced reference. Okay, and displaced reference means that when I'm speaking, or you're speaking, you're communicating not in response to events happening here and now in this room. You're communicating about, the distant past, chimpanzees, Noam Chomsky, all kinds of things which are not in this room. So we say displaced reference. In a way, virtual reality. We're moving through virtual reality when we speak.
Takže veľmi podstatný pojem, ktorý treba spomenúť pri tejto téme, je tzv. Displaced reference, čo znamená vlastne, že my ľudia máme schopnosť baviť sa o veciach, ktoré reálne nie sú prítomné, ale sú niekde, môžu byť buď abstraktné, čiže môžu existovať len v našich mysliach, alebo môžu existovať niekde úplne inde v Afrike, treba môžeme sa baviť o šimpanzoch, o Chomskom a tak ďalej. A je to vlastne referencia na vzdialené pojmy, ktoré nie sú priamo tu v tejto prítomnosti.
Now, 20 years ago, I decided that this question is so difficult that probably one person on their own can't find a solution. And so I decided to link up with a colleague, Jim Herford. This is in 1996, and we founded something called EvoLang, the International Conference Series on the Evolution of Language.
Takže s kolegom sme v roku 1996 založili tzv. EvoLang, ktorý slúži na...
Well, we set up this international conference series because we thought we would need so many different disciplines from all over the world in order to solve this question that there was, one person probably couldn't solve it.
Takže bol to vlastne program medzinárodných konferencií, na ktorých sa združilo viacero ľudí, aby o tomto mohli diskutovať, pretože je zjavné, že to nemôže rozluštiť len jeden človek, ale že treba veľmi veľa rôznych názorov a možno z toho vznikne nejaký výsledok.
And after 20 years, we've been working very successfully, very hard all over the world with conferences, getting bigger and bigger. But even after 20 years, I have to admit, we seem to be no nearer a solution today than we were 20 years ago.
Takže aj po 20 rokoch môžeme povedať, že nedostali sme sa takmer ani o krôčik ďalej, než sme boli pred 20 rokmi.
So my conclusion from that is that probably it's impossible. In other words, what I mean by that is there can be no such thing as a theory of the origin of language.
Takže môj názor na toto je, že neexistuje teória vývoja jazyka, pretože nie je možné jednoducho prísť na to, ako sa vyvinulo.
And what I mean by that is that language can't be independently explained, that in order to find an explanation, we need to have a theory of everything that makes us human. We need a theory to explain all the different things which created our human nature and human psychology and human forms of social life. So we need a theory of everything which makes us human, not just a separate theory.
Takže neexistuje jednoducho tá teória vývoja jazyka alebo vzniku jazyka, pretože skôr by sme to mali nazvať teóriou všetkého, pretože je to teória, ktorá zahrňa úplne všetko, čo sa týka ľudstva, vývoja ľudstva, evolúcie a všetkých tých ostatných inštinktov. Jednoducho jazyk nemôžeme vnímať úplne osobitne, oddelenie od toho všetkého.
So just to give one example of the kind of things I've got in mind, think about our eyes, human eyes. We have strange eyes. An adult chimpanzee or an adult gorilla, you see a dark face, maybe black for a gorilla, dark brown for a chimpanzee. All the skin's dark, the skin around the eye's dark, and the eye's round, and you just see the dark iris part of the eye, and it looks like black on black, dark on dark, maybe like mobsters wearing sunglasses, people who've robbed a bank, the mafia wearing sunglasses even when there's no sun.
Napríklad, keď si všimneme, už vidíme to len na ľudských očiach, ktoré sú úplne odlišné od ostatných živočíšnych očí. Napríklad, keď si všimneme oči gorily, tak je to proste čierne na čiernom, že čierne zreničky v okrúhlych čiernych očiach na čiernej tvári, čo vyzerá ako nejaký zlodej, ktorý práve vykradol banku. A na rozdiel od toho môžeme vidieť ľudské oči, ktoré sú výrazné na bielom povrchu zreničky.
So an adult gorilla, it looks as if it's designed to stop others from reading its mind. It looks as if it's got the kind of eyes which make it difficult to detect direction of gaze as a cue to mental states. Is that clear?
Oči ľudopov, alebo práve konkrétne goril, sú preto veľmi nerozoznateľné a je veľmi mätúce rozoznať v nich určité emócie alebo nálady, ktoré zviera prežíva.
And this would make sense in terms of chimpanzee or gorilla politics.
A toto nám môže dať zmysel práve v tom, keď môžeme pozorovať, ako sa tieto zvieratá správajú.
Because as you probably know, chimpanzees they're not really egalitarian. They are quite keen on dominance and submission, on hierarchy. And an alpha male gorilla or an alpha male chimpanzee wants to know what everyone else is thinking, but it doesn't want them to know what it's thinking.
Pretože ako možno viete, šimpanzie a gorily žijú v istej hierarchii a jedince, ktoré sa nachádzajú v hierarchii vyššie, určite nechcú, aby si tie nižšie jedince mysleli, teda vedeli, čo si myslia. Takže môžeme to vidieť práve.
So now contrast human eyes. If I look in your eyes, I can see the horizontal, which helps me to see which way you're looking. There's like a lozenge, an almond shape, and I can see the dark iris against the bright white background of your eyes. And this means from a distance, I can see what you might be looking at. And what we do when we want to know what they're thinking, we look in each other's eyes.
Takže tu môžeme vidieť ten rozdiel medzi očami zvierat a očami ľudí, kde ľudia majú oči teda na bielom pozadí, tmavé väčšinou, alebo modré, hej, ale vždy je tam nejaký rozdiel. A z toho vieme usúdiť, kam sa človek práve pozerá, čo asi práve prežíva. Vieme aj z tých očí vydedukovať, že čo prežíva.
And one way I think about this, I think of human eyes as eyes in reverse. Eyes in reverse in the sense that gorilla eyes are for looking out, and human eyes are, yes, for looking out, but also for looking in.
Takže preto nazývam ľudské oči akoby prevrátené, pretože dokážu sa pozerať aj akoby dovnútra. Zatiaľ, čo oči zvierat sa pozerajú len vonka na tú realitu, ktorá je pred nimi, ale ľudské oči sa dokážu pozerať aj dovnútra akoby.
And so we have, in a way, we're designed for transparency. We seem to be designed to kind of leak our thoughts. And this indicates that it must have been safe in the evolutionary past for us to be transparent. I think of the word glasnost, actually. You know, we have glasnost is a feature of humans that we are transparent.
A práve táto vlastnosť robí ľudí veľmi transparentnými, čiže môžeme navzájom do seba ako keby vidieť. A to vlastne potvrdzuje to, že na začiatku, kedy sa ľudia vyvíjali, musela byť medzi nimi istá dôvera. A vlastne táto dôvera sa vytvorila práve na základe toho očného kontaktu.
So even just our eyes are showing that we must have evolved to have a motive to share with others what's in our mind. And language would be an extension of that willingness to share our secrets.
Ľudia teda na počiatku chceli zdieľať svoje pocity, nielen cez oči, ale asi aj nejakým iným spôsobom. A tam predpokladáme, že teda začína vývoj jazyka, kedy ľudia chceli zdieľať svoje pocity, myšlienky a tak ďalej.
So my feeling after all these years with Evelyn is that we need to connect the origin of language with so many other things which are special about human nature. We have special eyes, we have special facial expressions, for example, smiling. We have laughter, which is another part of human nature, the way we laugh. And all these things are uniquely human and connected with the evolutionary emergence of language.
Preto si myslím, že okrem samotného jazyka treba prepájať aj iné veci, ako napríklad mimiku, gestiku alebo samotný ten očný kontakt. A všetko toto s vývojom jazyka určite súvisí.
So for me the word trust is so important that the adult gorilla doesn't trust others with its own thoughts. And my argument is that new forms of trust in each other, we must have had much more trusting relationships with each other for the eyes, for our kind of smiling, laughter and language to be possible.
Moja teória teda je, že v rámci tohto vývinu jazyka bolo potrebné mať istú dôveru. Ľudia museli mať medzi sebou dôveru, aby mohli medzi sebou zdieľať vlastne tieto svoje myšlienky, pocity, čokoľvek. A čo napríklad môžeme vidieť u ľudovopov, že nemajú, že nesmejú sa alebo nevyjadrujú svoje pocity takými spôsobmi ako my.
So let's just think about the role that trust plays for us today in determining whether we are on speaking terms with other people. So I don't know the expression on speaking terms. I mean, is that clear? Let's think about trust. Supposing you're a couple, you're with your husband, with your boyfriend, and you suddenly find you thought you could trust him, but now you're not sure.
Čiže môžeme si ukázať taký príklad akoby na tom, že existuje nejaký teda pár, hej, a tí ľudia si navzájom dôverujú, ale zrazu sa stane niečo, čo ich dôveru naruší.
I mean, this is not so unusual for humans, of course, these things happen, but maybe he's been having sex with another woman.
Treba s tým, že mal partner sex s inou ženou.
And you feel you just can't speak to him anymore. No words are of any value. He can say, "Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, I love you." And you just think, words are cheap.
Žena samozrejme nemôže to len tak odpustiť tomu mužovi. A v tejto chvíli už sú slova úplne lacné a nepotrebné. Už nemajú takú váhu ako predtým, keďže už tá dôvera je narušená.
And unless this man, of course it can be a woman, it doesn't have to be a man. but unless this person does something more than words, something costly, something which is difficult for him, he needs maybe to cry a lot, maybe to, I don't know, buy you much more than just chocolates or roses, maybe something very expensive, which is give up the other girlfriend, in order to get your trust back.
Muž teda, alebo žena, ak by sme to brali aj z opačného konca, musí dokázať opäť svoju dôveru, svoju lásku žene, a to tým teda už nestačí len teda kupovať drahé darčeky, hej, čokolády, ružičky a tak ďalej.
So the point here is if trust is broken down, if there's no trust, words are cheap, they're no use. You need costly signals to generate trust where it had vanished previously.
Takže pointou vlastne tohto je, že ak je táto dôvera narušená, musíme si vytvoriť akési lepšie spôsoby na vyjadrenie lásky, také, ktoré budú za to viacej stáť.
So my argument is that chimpanzees, they could use some kind of symbolic language. And we know they could because in America in particular, people have adopted chimpanzees into the family and taught them some kind of American Sign Language. So they can use signing, they can use symbols, but my argument is that they never do in the wild, and the reason they don't in the wild is because they don't trust each other enough.
Takže môjim argumentom je, že šimpanzi možno práve preto si nevyvinuli vlastný jazyk, pretože i keď sú schopné naučiť sa znakovú reč, ale i keď nie tak dokonale, ale v divočine by ju reálne nikdy nepoužívali, ani by ju nezačali používať, pretože si nedôverujú na to, aby ju používali.
And this brings us to the subject of sex.
A to nás dovádza k sexu.
Because if two chimpanzees are fighting, or two gorillas, two male gorillas are fighting, you can be sure that they're not fighting about philosophy, and they're not fighting about architecture, they're not even fighting about food. You can be sure they're fighting over sex.
Pretože ak vidíme dvoch šimpanzov, alebo gorily, alebo koľkoľvek, ako sa bijú, môžeme si byť istí, že určite sa nebijú kvôli architektúre alebo filozofii, ale môžeme si byť istí teda, že sa bijú kvôli práve sexu.
So the root cause of the conflicts, sometimes violent conflicts with non-human primates is sex. And somehow that problem must have been addressed and solved in the course of our ancestors becoming human.
Takže práve...
Sex had to be transformed. Sexual relationships had to undergo a transformation in the course of human evolution to make enough trust for language to be possible.
Takže verím, že práve sex bol tým prostriedkom, ktorý akoby vytvoril väčšiu dôveru v ľuďoch, alebo práve ktorý akoby bol spúšťačom toho, že ženy si povedali, že OK, budem mať s tebou sex, ale až keď niečo ponúkneš viac akoby.
So all human cultures across the world, Aboriginal, Australian, Southern African Bushmen, doesn't matter where you go with hunter-gatherers, you always have what we call group-level moral regulation of some kind. So there's always some moral framework, some moral system of regulation in place. And fundamentally, these systems of moral regulation, they address sex. Who can have sex with who mustn't have sex with who. The deepest part of any moral system concerns questions of sex.
Verím, že sex bol taktiež dôvodom, prečo vznikali aj morálne systémy, čiže akákoľvek morálka je vlastne akoby založená primárne na tom, že s kým môžeš alebo s kým nemôžeš mať sex.
So, for example, in many parts of Aboriginal Australia, you have what's called an 8-section system. It's a formal system where you have 8 categories of males and females.
Takže v Austrálii pri pôvodných obyvateľoch aborigénoch môžeme vidieť, že majú pôvodný systém, ktorý sa delí na 8 častí.
And if you're a young man, the young women of your generation will be 8 different categories, and 7 count as your sister, and only 1 category out of the 8 is potentially you can have a legitimate sexual relationship with. So you have 8 categories, 7 are sisters, and only the last category is not a sister, and so it's okay to have sex.
OK, čiže týchto 8 častí pozostáva zo 7 častí, 7 týchto kategórií tvoria akoby sestry a tá posledná, 8. kategória, sú ženy, s ktorými teda môžu mať muži sex.
And in technical kinship terminology, you have to, as a young man, you have to marry your mother's brother's daughter's daughter. It's the only person you're allowed to marry.
Dobre, takže to nám vychádza veľmi zložitá kombinácia cez bratrov, sestry, mami a vlastne až po mnohých generáciách alebo cez mnohé generácie sa dostanete k človeku, ktorého si reálne môžete vziať.
It might seem a little bit restrictive, but actually, luckily, you have a very large number of mothers, a very large number of mothers' brothers, and a very large number of mothers, brothers, daughters to choose from.
Ale našťastie je tu veľa týchto príbuzných, z ktorých si môžu mladí muži vyberať.
And the basic point I'm making is that sex is subject to community-wide moral regulation in all human societies.
Sex teda funguje ako morálna regulácia vlastne všetkého.
Whereas with chimpanzees and gorillas, it's true that they're okay, they work things out, there's not violence all the time, they have relatively stable relationships, but in fact, with chimpanzees and gorillas, you do what you can get away with doing. So there's no non-human primate has a community-wide system of moral regulation determining right from wrong.
Takže pri primátoch, hoci sú nám veľmi blízke, príbuzné, nevidíme akýkoľvek morálny systém, ktorý by nás s nimi touto cestou zbližoval.
I'm not sure how long to go on with this discussion of sex, except to say that in the course of human evolution, the evolving female must have done something to kind of prevent badly behaved males from behaving badly.
Verím, že počas evolúcie boli to práve ženy, ktoré prinútili mužov nesprávať sa agresívne a kontrolovať svoje inštinkty.
And perhaps the best way to explain this is the work of who's now a very famous in the West and authoritative anthropologist called Sarah Hrdy, H-R-D-Y. Maybe the name doesn't matter too much, but she's pointing out that every chimpanzee female who's a mother, every chimpanzee mother is a single mum.
Takže ako jeden americký antropológ potvrdzuje, že vlastne každá šimpanzia matka funguje ako samostatná jednotka, čiže samec jej v tomto vôbec nepomáha.
And she describes humans, we are the babysitting ape, because we alone among the great apes, we share childcare and support each other in childcare.
A nás ľudí opisuje ako primátov starajúcich sa o svoje deti, lebo dokážeme vlastne spolu zdieľať všetky tie starosti a starostlivosť o dieťa.
And again, trust is the critical factor. A chimpanzee female, she doesn't trust anyone else with her baby.
A takisto tu môžeme vidieť, že dôvera je práve ten kľúčový bod. A práve preto sú šimpanzie matky samé, pretože nedôverujú nejakému samcovi pri výchove. So
with the chimpanzees, the male dominance political structure means that whenever a female is sexually available, the males go crazy trying to get some sex. And they rampage around the place, quite violent, and sometimes somebody gets hurt, and it could be a baby.
Pri šimpanzoch to teda znamená toľko, že šimpanzia náklonnosť sa prejavuje najmä tak, že keď sú samice šimpanzov vlastne akoby keď chcú mať sex akoby, tak šimpanzi samci sa začnú správať veľmi agresívne a navzájom medzi sebou súťažia. A niekedy pri tom môže dôjsť aj k úrazom.
So it's not just that the males don't help with childcare, they're actually in truth, from a female standpoint, often quite a nuisance.
Takže nedochádza len k tomu, že vôbec samci nepomáhajú samici šimpanza, ale ešte je práve, že zhoršujú tie podmienky, v ktorých môže vychovávať svoje mladé.
So Sarah Hurd is arguing that with humans we were evolving in larger groups, requiring more complex social cognition, and therefore more large-brained babies were being born. And brains are good, large brains are especially good, but they have benefits but also costs. And the costs of a large brain baby, the extra time for looking after the child when it's born, the extra food, all those costs fall on the female. So large brain babies mean that the human female had especially heavy burdens of childcare.
U človeka je zvlášť ťažké a obťažné, náročné starať sa o dieťa, aj bolo v evolúcii človeka, pretože mali oveľa väčší mozog a tým pádom aj oveľa väčšie nároky ako by tie deti. A asi aj preto teda museli muži taktiež pomáhať pri výchove.
And the way in which evolving human mothers responded to the challenge of large-brained babies and heavy childcare was to live with mother. So evolving humans began to live with their mother, live with the mother, live with the mother, which is different from what chimpanzees do. The chimpanzee female, she has to move to have sex, and when she moves, she's got no female kin with her, and that's why she doesn't trust anybody with her baby.
Takže táto skutočnosť znamenala aj to, že dieťa bolo veľmi naviazané, ľudské dieťa muselo byť naviazané na svoju matku a nemohlo sa reálne od nej otrhnúť. A na rozdiel od šimpanzov, kde môžeme vidieť, že šimpanzia matka často ako keby sa pohybuje v rôznych oblastiach a migruje ako keby, hej, po lese a není to dieťa tak na ňu úplne pripútané.
And of course, if you're living with your mother, you're probably living with your sister, because your sister will be living with her mother. And so you're living with your mother and your sisters and your brothers.
Samozrejme, keďže musíte žiť s matkou a ste na nej pripútaní, tak asi žijete teda aj so svojimi súrodencami, ktorí taktiež musia s ňou žiť.
So this is what we call the grandmother effect. It's a very well-known feature of human life history, which is that the human female lives for quite a long time after reproductive age, and that's because grandmothers are so valuable looking after their daughters' children. It's called the grandmother effect. Every kid needs a grandmother.
To, že spolu ľudia takto nažívali, aj viaceré generácie, sa nazýva tzv. Akoby efekt starej matky, ktorý znamená, že staré mamy boli veľmi vážené, pretože aj napriek tomu, že už dávno prekonali to obdobie života, kedy akože po pôrode a kedy sa reálne mali starať o deti, aj napriek tomu ostávali s rodinami, neodišli preč, ale ostali sa starať aj o tie vnúčatá.
Okay, so from a woman's point of view, and I don't have to teach you this, I'm sure you all know this, there's no more reliable source of childcare than your own mother. Your own mother will be such absolutely priceless source of support in childcare is your own mum.
Z vlastných skúseností môžeme povedať, že najspoľahlivejším zdrojom výchovy je práve matka alebo teda aj stará.
And what's interesting is that modern population genetics in Africa, where we evolved, is proving that over tens of thousands of years, women in Africa, where we evolved, over the generations, were living with mum, living with mum, living with mum, living with mum. The genetics proves that this was the pattern.
Tento vzorec takisto potvrdzuje aj ľudská genetika, v ktorej môžeme vidieť, že po 1000 ročia, 10 000 ročia vždy matky žili so svojimi deťmi, alebo aj staré matky s teda matkami a tak ďalej.
And now comes the kind of miracle. The miracle was that because of the solidarity between women and their sisters and their mothers, there came a time when they were able to use that solidarity to get the male of the species to help for the first time. A
vďaka tejto solidarite žien vlastne ženy umožnili mužom taktiež sa akoby zapojiť do tohto procesu.
And you might think it's obvious the males are going to help with the childcare because, you know, it happens with birds, you know, the male bird brings worms for the female and all that stuff. But we're not birds, we're primates. And the point is that, yes, you can argue that we humans are lovely. We have a wonderful, kind disposition. Men love their wives and their children. And I agree with all that, I'm a man. But you know, the fact is that we have to get there. We have to have an explanation for why the human male became so helpful. Because non-human primate males are really no help at all. Non-human ape, not all primates, the smaller ones sometimes they do help, but the great apes, the male is more than useless, he's actually a pest.
Možno si myslíte, alebo možno to beriete ako samozrejmosť, že by mali muži pomáhať s výchovou dieťaťa, ale vôbec to tak nie je. Hlavne to môžeme sledovať pri väčších primátoch, kde muži, alebo teda samce sú úplne nepoužiteľné a ako som už povedala, práve že niekedy aj škodia tej samotnej výchove. Takže musíme dôjsť k tomu, že prečo sa vlastne toto celé stalo a akým spôsobom sa muži len tak zrazu zapojili do výchovy.
Now this problem must have been solved, but it was probably never completely solved, because we do know, don't we, everyone knows this, that a man always has the chance to get you pregnant and leave you holding the baby and go off and get somebody else pregnant.
Je to naozaj problém, ktorý treba riešiť, ale reálne sa zatiaľ úplne nevyriešil, pretože môžeme vidieť pri niektorých mužoch taký ten inštinkt, akoby, že iba spraviť ženu tehotnou a potom odísť a nechať ju tak s dieťaťom.
When I gave this talk in Bratislava a few days ago, a young woman came up to me and said, Professor Knight, surely there's a simple solution. It's love. My husband loves me. And I say, well, yes, I'm very happy that he loves you. But if the solution is love, we still have to explain on a Darwinian basis where this magic thing called love of that kind, you know, faithful love by a man, how it emerged.
Pred pár dňami, keď som bol ešte v Bratislave, tak za mnou prišla študentka a povedala, že je na to úplne jednoduché riešenie, teda na tú otázku, že prečo muži zostávajú pri výchove dieťaťa, a tým je láska. Ale reálne musíme, keď chceme postupovať vedecky, musíme dôjsť k tomu, že prečo táto emócia akoby donútila mužov zostať pri žene.
So what seems to have happened is that women in Africa, maybe 100,000 years ago, found a solution to the problem of the roving male. And the problem was to claim rights over their own bodies. In other words, to make sure that the male was managed by not being too careless about sex. So it's like women like sex, men like sex, but it's rather important to make men understand that if you're useless, if you're lazy, if you're hopeless, if you're violent, all that stuff, we're not going to be very happy as a group of women, and maybe it'd be better for you to start behaving.
Myslíme si teda, že práve ženy začali túto akoby revolúciu práve tým, že začali mužov testovať, alebo ako to povedať, že dávali im taký challenge, takú výzvu, kedy im nestačilo už len to, že muž prišiel a chcel mať so ženou sex, ale žena chcela aj niečo viac akoby od toho muža.
Actually, one of our students, actually from Bratislava, Dasha Bombakova, she's been spending many years in the Congo with pygmy hunter-gatherers, and I can describe what she finds there.
Takže jedna zo študentiek z Bratislavy strávila asi 7 rokov v Kongu.
And what she finds is that the old women, they use laughter as a weapon. And so if a man is throwing his weight around, if he thinks he's God's gift to women, if he wants sex but he hasn't hunted a zebra for weeks, what happens is that the women, the older ladies especially, they start to do this. They have a special privilege, the old ladies, a special laughter privilege. They pick on some some idiosyncrasy of this man, some little characteristic, some little twitch or the way he walks, and they start imitating him together.
A táto študentka zistila, že práve ženy z jedného kmeňa v Afrike používajú práve smiech alebo až taký výsmech pre mužov, že aby im ukázali, že teda už mi nestačí len to, že mi donesieš zebru, ale chcem niečo viac. A ak toto muž nesplňa, tak sa mu vyslovene začnú vysmievať.
And they laugh and laugh and laugh, and soon it's not just the old women, it's all the young women is laughing, and soon everyone's laughing, including some of the man's own friends. They're laughing, and he doesn't know why they're laughing. It takes a long time for the penny to drop.
A ak si takáto žena robí z muža srandu, postupne sa pridajú aj mladšie ženy a niekedy aj dokonca muži, potom si už celá dedina z neho robí srandu a niekedy ani nevie prečo a možno mu to časom dojde niekedy.
And basically the women carry on, they're completely relentless, they're unforgiving, they won't stop until he sees the joke, he recognizes why they're laughing, and he laughs at his old self, his former self. In other words, they don't stop until he joins the laughter, which then proves he's kind of human. He can see himself as others see him. And he's kind of ashamed and embarrassed, but hopefully he laughs, and that's kind of okay.
A tieto ženy sa smejú, alebo sa vysmievajú mužovi až dovtedy, kým on sám nepochopí, na čom sa smejú a nepochopí to, aký bol hlúpy, akoby, že nastáva tam tá obnova a žena môže vidieť, že ten muž si uvedomuje sám seba a čo spravil, ako chybu trebárs, alebo tak. A vlastne potom môže ten muž sa, ako keby to potvrdzuje to, že je lepší a lepší.
And I think you can make a very strong argument that the one thing about human psychology which makes us genuinely fully human is that we can see ourselves as others see us. We can put ourselves in someone else's shoes. And actually we use the eyes for that as well. I can look in your eyes, you're looking in my eyes, you're reading my thoughts, I'm looking in your eyes and seeing my own thoughts by reading your mind, and we kind of escape our egocentric perspective. We see ourselves the way others see us.
Takže toto je jedna z veľmi výnimočných ľudských vlastností, kedy ľudia majú ako jediný akoby schopnosť vidieť sa očami iných a to nás robí teda úplne odlišných od primátov.
So I'm linking the eyes with the laughter, because when this man laughs at himself, that's proving that he can see the funny side to himself, that he's proving that he can see himself and see how ridiculous he's being, putting himself in the shoes of everybody else.
A toto je pri ľuďoch veľmi výnimočné, že sa teda dokážeme vidieť očami iných, že si vieme treba niekedy zo seba spraviť srandu, alebo že dokážeme aj tie emócie vyčítať v očiach toho druhého.
I'm a bit worried about how long I'm going to go on for. How many? Give me 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 5 or 10? 15. Oh, well, fantastic. Oh, I can finish in 15 minutes. That's great. Okay. Okay, good. So, right. These women, these are the Bayaka from the Congo, but hunter-gatherers generally, what they say is that they're very keen on meat, actually. They like zebra, for example. Hunter-gatherers in parts of Africa that I'm familiar with, in Tanzania, the women have a special, a lot of the food they eat is vegetable food. They eat nuts and berries and roots, of course, but they have a special feeling about zebra and other game animals, and they associate that with men. And so what they say was we like men, we like their bodies, we like their muscles, we like their courage, but we feel especially attracted towards men when they come in a group cooperating with zebra.
Takže práve ženy, najmä vo východnej Afrike, v kmeňoch východnej Afriky, keďže sú zvyknuté najmä na takú vegetariánsku stravu, veľmi málo sa im dostáva mäsitej potravy a práve preto si ju veľmi dokážu ceniť, keď muž priniesie treba zebru alebo ešte niečo hodnotnejšie.
And if the men come back with nothing, the women aren't very happy and probably there won't be a lot of sex that evening.
Ale ak muž príde s prázdnymi rukami, tak nebudú veľmi nadšené a asi muž ostane bez sexu.
Now, a question I'm often asked by when I say all this, they say, but Chris, it's not realistic. The women can't just refuse sex because a man can be violent and men can rape women. And this is an argument I encounter. Why don't the men just rape the women anyway? Do you know? Well, okay. What I'm saying is that the women... Okay, let me a little bit more slowly. The women who are laughing at the man who's useless, or the women who say, you brought no zebra, we're not having sex, what they're doing is they're going on a kind of sex strike. They're saying, right, no meat, no sex. Okay? And in order to do that, they have to be strong, they have to support each other, and they have to say no means no, and establish this fact that no means no. The women need to be able to do that.
Takže čo tým celým chcem akoby povedať je, že ženy musia byť neskutočne silné na to, aby od seba udržali mužov a aby ich, keď oni povedia nie, aby to naozaj teda znamenalo nie aj pre tých mužov.
But when I was giving this talk again in Bratislava, one of the men, it was a perfectly sensible question. He said that men can be, you know, they're men, they've got weapons, and they can just use violence. Why don't they just use violence against the women?
Prečo by teda muži nemohli ženy znásilniť alebo použiť proti nim akékoľvek iné násilie?
And the answer is, well, okay, in the evolutionary past, maybe they did. Maybe that did happen in some groups. But what we can be sure of is that if the men could get sex by using violence, the childcare in that community would have been very poor quality. And so the group would have not been very successful in increasing the population.
Odpoveďou by mohlo byť, že možno niekedy v ranej evolúcii ľudstva to tak aj bolo, že si muži vymáhali práve sex násilím, ale reálne by tá spoločnosť ako keby neprosperovala, kebyže to takto pokračuje.
And then don't forget that the women are a group, the women are living with mum, and all these coalitions of women, they will include within the coalition their sons and their brothers. And if you want to be strong against a man who wants to threaten you, and you've got your brothers and your sons, well, you can defend yourself. You can defend yourself as a group of women, but if it comes to violence, you can call on your male kin for support. And this happens regularly among hunter-gatherers in Africa, that the women draw on the support of their sons and brothers against the outsider males who they have sex with.
Ak by teda toto násilie pokračovalo a v niektorých skupinách stále sa takéto veci stávajú, že muži si chcú vydobiť teda ten sex násilím, tak v tom prípade ženy môžu svoju sílu potvrdiť aj tým, že ako keby sa bránia vlastnými synmi a tak ďalej, že aj oni sa akoby zapoja do boja proti tomu násilníkovi.
So the short version of my theory is simply this, that if women could go on strike once a month and clarify to men, there's no point using violence, you won't get you any sex, you need to cooperate and go fight a zebra or a giraffe or some other animal. This would have had the effect of generating trust between the women and also generating trust between the men, because sex is no longer a source of suspicion and violence. Men can't get sex that way. They can't get sex through violence. They have to go hunting.
Moja teória teda tak v skratke je akoby, že ženy boli nútené, alebo ženy donútili mužov rozmýšľať takým spôsobom, že sex nie je len výsledkom nejakého násilia, ale že si ho musia akoby zaslúžiť za niečo.
So the short version, and maybe I need to say a little bit more just to kind of show you how to test the theory. The short version is that even chimpanzees, they can use symbols, they can use signs, but because of the conflicts in their social systems, they don't. So I'm saying by the time we get to Homo habilis and Homo erectus, and we get to humans evolving in Africa with brains the size of ours, we can be sure they have the capacity to speak. And the question is whether that potential could be realized in practice. In other words, they have the capacity, we can be sure of that, but was the sexual politics such that it would liberate that capacity?
Takže v týchto vzťahoch je veľmi podstatná aj dôvera, práve dôvera. Pri budovaní vzťahov a môžeme vidieť, že pri šimpanzoch toto vôbec nie je možné, pretože oni stále fungujú na tom zastaralom systéme, kedy si sex väčšinou vydobíjajú násilím.
So, now, at the base of all the world's religions, they're all very different, of course. You have different kinds of religion, and hunter-gatherers, they don't exactly have religion. They don't have priests, and they don't have God. They have a trickster figure. But all the world's cultures have moral rules, and they all have one principle which is fundamental, which is some things are sacred.
Môžeme vidieť, že každá kultúra, či už, väčšinou ide aj o náboženstvo, ale v každej kultúre nachádzame niečo, čo je posvetné.
And if the body is not sacred, you can see when you think about it, probably nothing is. If you can't say no, don't touch my body, if you can't establish that your body is sacred, it seems unlikely that anything else will be sacred.
Keďže viaceré kmene v Afrike neuznávajú nejaké náboženstva, tak akoby vec, ktorú nazývajú posvetnou, je ich vlastné telo. A ak teda nemôžu povedať nie, alebo nevedia si ho nejakým spôsobom presadiť, riskujú to, že to posvetné by mohlo byť zneuctené.
So for human culture, human self-awareness, human moral structure, human language to develop, women especially needed to establish our bodies are sacred. Don't touch if we say no. No means no, which kind of indicates that the very first word, if you want to ask what was the first word, it was no.
Takže pre ženy bolo práve ich telo, to posvetné, čo museli ochraňovať. A viete si predstaviť, že keď teraz prišiel nejaký muž len tak, že s nejakým násilím alebo tak prvá vec, ktorú mu mohli povedať, bolo práve nie.
And it might sound a bit negative, but just think of all the huge positives which came out of that first no. So anyway, I mean, I could explain a little bit more. There's plenty of other ways we could approach this, but I don't want to speak too long because it'd be good to have questions. But let me just end by saying that all my life I've been thinking about how to sort out these, I don't know. I mean, the world now has so many problems. We have so many things which seem to be going wrong. Obviously in Slovakia, in Britain, I mean, I don't know. I think young people around the world, especially these days, are thinking surely with our intelligence, with our digital technology, with our internet, surely we can do better than this mess we're making of planet Earth. And my feeling was always that every time you have a revolution, it kind of starts well, and then it goes wrong.
Myslím si teda, že každá takáto revolúcia, ktorá v ľudskej spoločnosti kedy začala, možno takou malou revolúciou sa dá nazvať aj práve to nie od tých žien, tak vždy začala akoby pozitívne, ale nikdy neskončila úplne dobre.
So I spent my life looking for a revolution which worked. The English Revolution, kind of all right. We chopped off the king's head and we had parliament. The French Revolution, we chopped off a few aristocrats' heads, but that probably wasn't all that sensible. The Russian Revolution started with wonderful ideals, but went, I mean, worse than pear-shaped. I mean, it really was the most terrible imaginable outcome, with Stalin and all that. So where is the revolution that really worked?
To som sa snažil počas svojho života nájsť hlavne tú takú revolúciu, ktorá by mohla naozaj výjsť, akoby, ktorá by nemusela dopadnúť zle, ako mnohé ostatné v našej histórii.
And it was quite a long time ago now. I think it was 1968, that year of revolutions, the Prague Spring and May events. I suddenly discovered the revolution which worked, and it was the human revolution.
A bolo to práve v roku 1968, kedy som prišla na to, ktorá revolúcia by reálne mohla pracovať, ktorá by mohla teda výjsť, a bola to revolúcia ľudstva.
So how do we know that this revolution, which seems to have happened in Africa about 100,000 years ago, how do we know it worked? Well, we know it worked because here we are. We have these kinds of eyes which we can look into and share each other's thoughts. We can establish moral rules, and not always very successfully, but we can have some success. amazing thing, language, which enables us to share our dreams.
Verím, že práve takouto revolúciou ľudstva bola práve revolúcia počas našej evolúcie, kedy sme si začali zdieľať svoje pocity, kedy sme začali nadväzovať očné kontakty, kedy sme začali chápať všetkým emóciám a začali ich zdieľať.
So my allegiance as a scientist has always been to the human revolution, and I've always thought to myself, well, this revolution seemed to work, because here we are, and it worked for the whole human species, because here we are. And the conclusion I've always drawn is something like this: we did it once, maybe we can do it again.
Verím, že práve táto revolúcia je tá pravá, pretože nás dostala tam, kde sme, a myslím si, že ak sme ju dokázali spraviť raz, tak môžeme ju opäť spraviť.
Ďakujem pekne Chrisovi Knightovi za inšpiratívnu prednášku, Diane za preklad. Teraz máme ešte nejakých 15 minút na vaše otázky, ak máte. Ja dúfam, že máte. Keď nie, ja si rýchlo niečo vymyslím, ale na to sa nespoliehajte. Výborne, nech sa páči. Môžete po slovensky teda a Diana to preloží.
Ja úplne zo základu všetko mi sedí. Akurát neviem si predstaviť vec typu dôvera, nakoľko slova sú vlastne mŕtve symboly. A keď ja komunikujem s niekým a hovorím o láske alebo o depresii, tak nakoľko ja viem, lebo to pochádza z mojej skúsenosti s láskou a s depresiou, ale to sa líši od každého jedincovi. Nakoľko ja viem, keď hovorím o takých tých inertných, tých mŕtvych veciach, alebo tých vnútorných, nakoľko ja viem, že tá druhá osoba ich chápe takisto. A pre mňa osobne potom tá dôvera je veľmi zradná. To by ma zaujímalo.
So, the question is, how's that possible, or that if I want to express my feelings to the person, how can I be sure about the thing that if the person understands me too? So where's the trust in the words? Because words are like that symbols.
Thank you. I mean, that is...
Sorry, Chris, a small addition.
I mean about my experience with love or being desperate or hateful. It's coming from my own experience from life, and it differs from person to person. So my question is, how can I trust somebody if I know that his experiences are different?
That's the best possible question to begin with. So thank you very much.
Yeah.
When I was talking, I was going round the houses. I was giving you a little flavour of the beginning of the story, a little flavour of the middle, and possibly a little bit of my feeling about political implications. But I never went through the actual theory because, of course, you can't do this in a short period of time. So, okay, I mean, the short answer was this: is that hunter-gatherers spend most of their time dancing together, singing together, drumming together, bonding. And it's this ritual bonding which generates the community-wide trust. So if you, here as well, if you really want to bond, this group here, I have a recommendation, just do lots and lots and lots and lots of singing, choral singing together.
Takže otázka teda bola, že ako môžem dôverovať človeku, keď neviem, že či niekedy zažil to isté, čo ja. A odpoveďou by bolo, že túto dôveru si treba vytvárať a treba tie vzťahy posúvať čím ďalej, tým viac do extrémnejšej dôvery a do hĺbšej dôvery.
So when women said no, it was certainly not as N-O, it wasn't a consonant and a vowel. The argument would be that the women, in order to signal that they were bonded with each other, that they had their solidarity, and that they were expecting the men to do something useful, they would sing and sing and sing and sing and dance and dance and dance and dance. And that's because the biological human male, I'm a male, so I know this, our ears are not designed really to welcome the word no. We, you know, when it comes to sex, we're always hoping it's yes. And so the people who are saying no at the beginning had to say it more than once and not just whisper it, but to do it in a sexy, joyful, dancing performance, ritual performance, which has this extra effect of bonding the performers together.
Toto budovanie dôvery sa často napríklad v tých východoafrických kmeňoch robí práve pri rituáloch, tancovaním, spievaním a týmto práve sa dosahuje to, že žena po istej dobe môže povedať nakoniec áno. Teda.
Just the last part, because thank you for your question. As an individual, you, me, all of us, our individual experiences divide us. Each of us is separate with different individual, different ages, different experiences. But what ritual does, communal ritual, it homogenizes experience and emotion. It makes us all feel the same emotions, experience the same deep experiences, form the same representations, and that makes our minds capable of communicating, because only when we're on the same page, if you like, only when we share the same emotions and values is genuinely sensitive linguistic communication possible.
Takže sú to práve tie rituálne tance, ktoré najviac ľudí dokážu prepojiť, akoby, lebo napriek tomu, že každý vystupujeme ako individuálny jedinec, dokážeme sa počas takýchto rituálov prepojiť tak nejak mysľami a dosiahnuť vyšší konsenzus.
Okay, thank you.
Ďakujeme. Ďalšia otázka, nech sa páči.
I would please like to ask about how is possible trust between strangers, people not from the same community but strangers, if you visit some foreign village and they trust in you.
And that's another hugely important question. When I was talking about sexual trust, I was talking about how women in Africa manage to establish that no means no. And they do it by going on strike, and they go on strike by singing and dancing in a certain way. Now the thing about going on strike, when you think about it, is that you can't be local. So, okay, men are very mobile, they can move around. So just think about it. Imagine you have the scenario of a group of women in one little camp, they're on sex strike. And I'm a man, I want sex, and I don't want to work for it, I just want sex. I want to find some women, and oh my God, these women are on strike. So I go, me and my mates, we all go to another camp. Oh, these ones are not on strike, okay? That's good. But can you see, to make the strike work, it has to be across the landscape. Okay, now there was a solution to this problem, and it's rather strange, rather surprising and shocking, but it's kind of obvious when you think about it. The solution was the moon. Okay, so now if you go on strike only at certain phases of the moon, maybe dark moon, and you claim, okay, dark moon is the time for blood, for menstruating. Full moon is the time for ovulation and sex. So, okay, dark moon, the moon's dark, we're menstruating, the blood makes us sacred, we put on our cosmetics, we do our dance, no means no. Can you see what's happening? If you're using the moon as your clock, your strike is a general strike. Okay? And that means wherever the men go, oh, these women are on strike. Oh, we go 3 miles away, oh my God, these are on strike as well, because the same moon is everywhere. Now, you may think this is a bit hard to imagine, because it would mean that women were synchronizing their menstrual cycles to the phases of the moon. But again, when you think about it, that is actually interesting, because chimpanzees can't do this. Chimpanzee females have a 36-day cycle. Bonobos have a 40-day cycle. Other primates have 19 days, 23 days, whatever. The human female has evolved with exactly the length of cycle you would predict if in the evolutionary past there was adaptive advantage to be gained from synchronizing with the moon. 29.5 days. Okay, exactly the time it takes for the moon to pass through its phases, you see, from the Earth. So what I'm saying is that this action had to be not local. And then when you think about it again, hunter-gatherers, they don't have fences. You can't have fences, you can't have borders. The hunter-gatherers have an instinctive attitude of no borders. And it's really simple, it's because the zebras don't recognise borders. You know, the animals have no borders. So hunter-gatherers don't understand what a fence is. Fences and borders come from farming, because you need a fence to protect your crops. Anyway, I'll stop now. I know it's a bit much for you to translate, but and also perhaps you need to translate the question as well.
Takže otázka znela, že ako je možné vybudovať si dôveru k človeku, ktorý akoby nie je miestny, ktorého možno úplne nepoznáme. Odpoveď bola taká rozsiahlejšia a súvisí to celé s menštruačným cyklom žien, ktorý my ľudia máme vytvorený tak, že teda aspoň kedysi to tak fungovalo, že ženy boli, ľudské ženy, ako jediné boli schopné ako keby zosynchronizovať tento svoj cyklus a ako môžeme si všimnúť už len v jeho trvaní, ktorý trvá 28 dní. A väčšinou to teda fungovalo tak, že muž prišiel do dediny a uvidel, že teda všetky ženy počas novu, hej, boli, ich odpoveďou na sex bolo nie. A tak to skúsil v inej dedine a zase to bolo teda nie. A to bolo práve tým, že cykly všetkých žien boli zosynchronizované práve podľa mesiaca.
So I mean, you're right to say that you're not going to get good communication linguistically in another village if they have, you know, a different local loyalty. Clearly, you can't. Language doesn't work. It's very hard to talk to your enemies. Everyone knows that. If it's your enemies, you need threat and violence. But hunter-gatherers, different from farmers in Africa, you'll find that they have these structures of kinship and cosmology which stretch right across the landscape. So wherever you go, you can find relatives, because the custom is that, you know, it's like the system I was saying in Australia, where you're only allowed to marry a mother's brother's daughter's daughter. These structures, they stretch across the landscape. They don't have borders. You can find your mother's brother's daughter's daughter, even if you've travelled up 200 miles. You'll still, hello, my mother's brother's daughter's daughter. You never met them before, but they're already part of your family.
Sorry.
Na rozdiel od austrálskych aborigenov, tu môžeme vidieť, že východoafrické kmene najmä nefungujú na akomkoľvek rozdelení, ale nemajú jednoducho žiadne hranice. Čiže muži z ktorýchkoľvek dedín mohli prísť do ktorejkoľvek inej dediny a tým pádom po generáciách a generáciách môžu mať príbuzných naozaj kdekoľvek. Nie je to rozdelené na časti, nemá to hranice, ale tí príbuzní sa môžu nájsť 200 kilometrov ďalej.
Ďakujeme. Ešte stíhame jednu takú stručnejšiu otázku, aj keď ja viem, že možno to je skoro odpovedia, ale tam vzadu teda ešte jednu.
Hello, my name is Michael. I have a question. I hope it's not going to be too off topic. What is your stance on Daniel's Everett critics of Noam Chomsky's universal grammar?
What's my position on Daniel Everett's criticism of Noam Chomsky? Right. Well, I have written a whole book on it. Basically, I love Noam Chomsky because he's so courageous in the way he speaks truth to power. Are we translating this all the time, or should I say a bit more? Okay. But, I mean, really, very briefly, I agree with Daniel Everett. Okay, I'll take a few examples. Noam Chomsky says that language is entirely nature and not culture. Linguistics is natural science and not social science. Language is not social, he says. He says language is not for communicating with other people, it's for a part of your brain talking to itself. He says that the brain, the human individual uses language mostly to talk to yourself. And that's how it evolved. But he goes even further. He says that in order to argue against the idea of social learning, he says nothing is learned. Now, I agree with him that humans have a language instinct, but I don't agree that nothing is learned. I'll just give you one example. He was asked by a philosopher, Hilary Putnam, "Okay, Noam, are you saying that the word carburetor is part of human nature, inscribed in the human genome in Homo sapiens before our species had even invented the wheel?" You'd be surprised. Noam said yes. Carburetor is innate. Carburetor, email, hovercraft, any modern word. Not the sound, but the concept, he says, was already installed in the human at the beginning of time. Now, this is obviously nonsense. It has to be nonsense, but instead of just saying it's nonsense, which is not very helpful, we have to ask why this particular nonsense became so prevalent in America in the 50s and 60s. And I can't go into it all now, but there are political reasons for that extraordinary nonsense. Everett is... I don't agree with everything Everett says, because he tends to go the other extreme. Everett tends to say that all language is just learning, it's learnt. And Chomsky says, no, it's all innate. And I'm fairly moderate. I think that the instinct is there, but I certainly don't think that the word carburetor is part of the human genome.
Takže padla otázka, či Chris súhlasí teda s kritikou Daniela Everetta na Noama Chomskyho. Everett si má takú hlavnú hypotézu, že jazyk je naučený a Chomsky zase hovorí, že je to všetko len inštinkt, že dokonca aj ťažké termíny, ktoré sa používajú v nejakých právnických textoch a tak ďalej, sú jednoducho inštinkt a že ľudia ich poznali od praveku. A Chris teda súhlasí s tým, že jazyk môže existovať ako inštinkt u človeka, ale tak nejak to premosťuje do toho, že isté veci sa musíme naučiť. Že nemôže byť celá naša slovná zásoba naučená, teda inštinktívna, úplne od začiatku, od narodenia človeka.
I don't speak Slovak, but I have a sense that this is the most fantastic translation happening in front of our eyes. How can this translation be so brilliant? It must be that the translator understands the arguments already and they're putting it in different words from mine, but making sense of it. It's very, very, very impressive.
Thank you.
Dobre, možno ešte jednu stručnú otázku, keby bola. Ale ak nie je... Dobre. No, Oliver, to neviem, či bude stručná od teba, ale skús.
Ja, či ten samotný jazyk, samotná reč, či sa to dá zovšeobecniť, či je väčšia polovica z toho naučená, alebo vrodená nejako to geneticky.
Could the language be like generalized? Which part of learned and instinctive is bigger? Like.
Right, I was thinking of touching on that, but in the end, I didn't. Okay, so chimpanzees find it very difficult to learn vocal patterns. Their vocalizations are entirely innate, it seems to me. So when you teach a chimpanzee American Sign Language, the reason they use American Sign Language is because they just can't make sounds with their vocal organs which imitate somebody else's sounds. So the vocalizations are all entirely innate. Now, I was saying that humans seem to have a language instinct and asking where does it come from? And my own view is that there is an answer to that question. So, okay, apes, when they listen to each other's vocal signals, they're not really interested in the intention, they're interested in the evidence. So, the evidence of anger, the evidence of sexual arousal, the evidence that there's some food present, they're interested in the evidence, not the intention. We humans, when we hear each other speaking, we're so trusting that even when we tell each other nonsense, or we say things which can't be true, we look for an underlying truth. So we're interested in the intention. So metaphor is an example. In metaphor we say to each other things which are clearly wrong. You know, John is a pig, he's a human being, he hasn't got trotters, you can't make bacon out of John, but you call him a pig. Juliet is the sun in Romeo and Juliet. Juliet is a woman, she's not a ball of hot plasma in the sky. So we hear these things, and we're so trusting that even when it's kind of nonsense, we look for a meaning. Well, actually, there's one arena within which animals do that, and that's play. So when animals play fight, they're using aggressive actions, because it's fighting, but they're interested in the intention behind the aggressive act. So a dog's biting another dog, but it's just play. The victim is thinking, okay, it's okay, because it's not intended as a real bite. So I can't answer the question about exactly how much is instinct and how much is learned. But what I'm saying is the language instinct is, in my view, very old, because it's the play instinct. It's the instinct for creative play, where you signal one thing but you mean another. And we find it very natural, because with humans, our playfulness when we're young prepares us for an adulthood of life with symbols. Other animals, they play when they're young, but when they get old, the sex comes along, and the play fighting becomes serious fighting, and the play stops.
Takže neviem úplne na 100% povedať, že do akej miery alebo na koľko percent by to mohlo byť rozdelené, teda ten inštinkt a to, čo je naučené. Ale veľký rozdiel môžeme vidieť pri šimpanzoch a pri ľuďoch, kde šimpanzi nie sú schopné naučiť sa akékoľvek zvuky, nemajú na to jednoducho ústrojenstvo artikulačné. A ľudia ho majú teda. A práve preto ľudia majú takú schopnosť hľadať za tými slovami niečo viacej. Čiže napríklad, keď si vezmeme metaforu, tak vieme, že to je klamstvo, hej, že napríklad, keď niekto povie, že Jano je prasa, tak on reálne nie je to zviera, hej, so 4 nohami a tak ďalej. Ale vieme, že hľadáme za tým jednoducho nejaký skrytý význam, čo teda zvieratá nerobia. A to nás od nich najviac odlišuje. A tento jazykový inštinkt práve vznikol akoby z takej hry a kreativity, ktorú môžeme sledovať aj pri zvieratách, keď sú malé, keď sa hrajú, ale vedia vycítiť ten zámer, že je to ešte len hra, zatiaľ čo potom už neskôr v dospelosti už ide naozaj o reálny súboj.
Ďakujeme pekne. V tomto momente by sme diskusiu prerušili, ale ukončili, lebo Chrisa ešte bude spolu. Ja som šofér, presúvať do Bratislavy, takže ešte mám pred sebou dlhú cestu plnú káv na čerpacích staniciach, ale ja by som len na záver chcel veľmi pekne poďakovať vám, že teda na prednášku o antropológii, evolúcii a jazyku vás prišlo v takom hojnom počte. A vlastne mám také, že 4 poznámky na záver, že prečo je super, že vás toľko prišlo na niečo, čo sa týka antropológie, evolúcie, jazyka a tak ďalej, je preto, že v jednej výbornej knižke, a tie ale dôvody by ste našli aj v iných, určite nielen v knižkách, Neprozisk sa volá tá knižka od Marty Nussbaumovej, tak ona vlastne rozoberá v tej knižke o tom, že spoločnosť sa zameriava mnohokrát v súčasnosti na prírodné vedy, pretože tam vidí väčšiu efektivitu, že zabudáme na tie vedy humanitné, ktoré možno skúmajú z iného pohľadu ľudstvo a našu spoločnosť, a že práve ale tie humanitné vedy akože prinášajú ten rozmer kritického myslenia a imaginácie, ktorá je dôležitá preto, aby sme si udržali také veci ako demokraciu a podobne. To bola jedna z takých hlavných tém našich s Chrisom predtým, ako sme prišli sem, bavili sme sa o Slovenskom národnom povstaní a samozrejme SNS a tak ďalej. A druhá poznámka je, že v inej knižke, ktorá sa volá Darwinovská levica od Petra Singera, tak tam sa môžete dočítať a dočítať sa tam aj rôzne inde. Chcem tak len dodať k tomu, čo ste tu počuli, že evolúcia tá len je. Že z evolúcie netreba vyvozovať žiadne hodnotové súdy, tá tu len je a vždy tu bude. A tak ju berme, a to vlastne je nepresná, alebo nie je to citácia, je to parafráza Darwina, otca evolučnej teórie, takže takto aj berte mnohé veci, čo ste počuli. Že na mňa ako feministu niektoré veci, čo som počul, hnevali. Ale potom som povedal, že áno, netreba z toho vyvozovať hodnotové súdy a upokojil som sa. A To boli dve poznámky. Tretia je, že ďakujeme ženám za jazyk a ak by ste si chceli vypočuť tú najvyššiu možnú úroveň jazyka, teda poéziu, tak môžete prísť 28. oktobra do literárnej bašty na Lázornej ulici, kde bude poetický festival Versus a vyhlási sa tam aj báseň roka. A tretia je, že teda je tu tá spomínaná knižka Decoding Chomsky, takže ak chcete, môžete si ju kúpiť. To je všetko. Ďakujem veľmi pekne, že ste prišli. Thank you very much, Chris, for your presentation. A Diane ďakujeme pekne za preklad. To je všetko, pekný večer prajeme.